There's a lot of buzz around potential new capital ships visible in the I Held the Line Squadron 42 trailer from CitizenCon 2953. But what are they? Are they battleships, cruisers, carriers, and what information can we glean from past sources? In this video, I'll be going way back to the start of the project to talk about the information we have around these ships. The structure I'm going to use is that I'm going to list just the facts in a mostly chronological order, then I'm going to go on to draw some of the strong connections between those data points, and finally I'll end by indulging in a little speculation. This video may contain small spoilers for Squadron 42 and will reference one leaked image from development. This might not be absolutely every morsel of news, but I am going to cover some background information that highlight the remaining gaps in our knowledge, and I think these are the pertinent points. Between 2012 and 2013, stretch goals added numerous ship classes to the game. These included the cruiser at $4.5 million, escort carrier at $15 million, and the battle cruiser at $17 million. Of these, the cruiser is described as playable, the battle cruiser as flyable, but no such description is given for the escort carrier. Note that the Bengal, which we know we may be able to find a derelict version of but we can't buy, is also listed as playable. March 2013, and the subscriber magazine Jump Point publishes a galactic guide to Cathcart which references an Indefatigable class battleship. This name is removed from the guide when it is later published to the main website. The Indefatigable class battleship is also mentioned in the May 2013 Vandal warship analysis. Jump Point issues through 2013 track the story of the Void Rats, a UEE Navy squadron assigned to the UES Africanus, a support carrier that's just a retrofitted battlecruiser used for less important naval operations. In January 2014, Lore Builder Episode 13 listed the prefix designations for different classes of capital ship used by the UEE. These designations have since been used numerous times, though we can't necessarily assume that all will still be valid. Note that the escort carrier Charlie Victor Echo, cruiser, battleship and battlecruiser are all included at this point. In December 2014, the Pegasus-class escort carrier, which had been mentioned before, was formally announced, and shown to be a long ship with a side-slung asymmetric landing bay. Previously this had been referred to as the Panther in some conversations, though this was the first image of the vessel shown. It has been shown and discussed a number of times before and since, but there's little change from what we see at this stage. It's described in the holiday livestream that year as being the player's home for part of Squadron 42. May 2018, and a special of Around the Verse, features the latest character model of Randall Graves, the character played by John Rhys Davis. The character's jacket bears a patch marked UEES Chimera Charlie Victor Echo 35. This patch moves around his jacket in other videos, but still prominently featured in both the October 2018 cinematic teaser and the 2023 I Held the Line video. July 2021, and Lawmakers Community Questions confirms that the Indefatigable class battleship is a historical but defunct class of vessel that is no longer in service. September 2021, and a Galactopedia article entitled Integrity and Honour has been published. The article mentions a cruiser called the UES Integrity, which featured a propaganda recruitment film in 2935, 10 years before the events of Squadron 42. Late 2022, and leaked images begin to surface online of two capital ships docked in space. Both appear to be made from parts of the Bengal carrier, but with key differences. One appears to have a flight deck and a tapered nose, while the other retains the Bengal's distinctive duckbill but replaces the flight deck with large cannons. Both appear to only have underslung rear engines and lack the upper engines of the Bengal. September 2023, and as part of the last monthly Galactopedia update before CitizenCon, the Pegasus is added to Galactopedia. It is described in the present tense and as a standard component of UEE Navy fleets. October 2023, and the new Squadron 42 trailer drops during CitizenCon 2953. There are two clips that I'll be looking at in detail: the opening shot over Vega 2, and the later scene of Admiral Bishop's speech, which ends with another exterior shot of the fleet. I've picked out every potential capital ship that I think I can find across both clips. I'm highlighting them across the footage so you can double check my interpretations if you like. Note that if a ship appears in two of my annotated snapshots, it should have the same identifying number. While most names and shapes are indistinct, during one shot we can clearly see the UEES Corvus and a sneak peek at the UEES Integrity, viewable past Mark Strong's legs, and I've put together a composite reconstruction of the different shots we have of this. Now I'm going to move on to drawing connections between these points of information. I believe that these points of analysis, while not explicitly stated in the videos, are things that we can be quite confident about. Let's first analyse the ships we see in the new trailer. Sorting these vessels into their classes, I believe we can see 1 Bengal, the Krugeri, 12 Javelins, 7 Idrises, 9 Hammerheads, which aren't capitals but could be mistaken for them, and 10 ships that don't appear to conform to an announced ship class. I have tried to ignore the Hornets and Retaliators also in shot, but one snuck in. Within our unidentified ships, all but 2 appear to be of the same class, which I'll term Class A, with this Y-shaped ship and this ship with a carrier deck being the only outliers in Class B. Of the leaked ships in 2022, I believe that our unidentified Class A ships match the ship on the right. This is the craft characterised by a Bengal-shaped nose and 3 large guns, 2 fore and 1 after the tower. Furthermore, I have grouped both the UES Integrity and the UES Corvus into Class A. As for the other vessel on the left, this is characterised by a flight deck projecting from under the tower, a Y-shaped profile, and prominent ventral projections that are absent from Class A. As it appears to be a smaller carrier, the only designation from the 2014 Lawmaker's Guide it would match is the escort carrier, a class designation occupied by the Pegasus. The Pegasus still exists somewhere within the lore, as we can tell by this extremely recent addition to the Galactopedia. While its model seen in 2014 is conspicuously absent from the naval shots, the retention of that model on Randall Graves' jacket, despite an update pass, implies that the UES Chimera, whatever it was, did look like that old 2014 Pegasus model. The Charlie Victor Echo serial number matches the escort carrier, and like the Pegasus, the Chimera comes from Greek mythology, following the trend of UE Navy ships keeping to the same theme as the lead ship of the class. Now on to more outlandish speculations. This is where I'm going beyond what I'm confident in saying it probably is true, and into areas where it's very possible that I'm wrong. I believe that Class A, which included the Integrity and the Corvus, are from a ship class that we revealed to be the Cruiser. Now, I don't know what it's going to be called. I can't think of a thematic connection between Integrity and Corvus, which means crow and is also a constellation. The exact names might just be incidental, could be breaking naming patterns, which is not unheard of, or may just be different generations, or as they call flights of ships, which do sometimes change naming pattern, as in the Hammerhead class. Alternatively, one could be the Cruiser and the other the Battle Cruiser, with the differences not being obvious in the video as we can see it here. And it is worth recognising that Galactopedia uses the lowercase for describing ship classes, so it's actually quite hard to tell if Cruiser is a class or if it's just a description, in the same way that one might idly and non-technically describe all capital ships as, like, battleships, for example. If I had to guess, I'd say it's more likely to be the Corvus class cruiser, because that's a constellation and RSI ships are quite often named after constellations. I think it's highly likely that the previous model we've seen for the Pegasus will not be featured as part of modern fleets, and instead will be kept only as an earlier generation of escort carrier. If it does appear, it might be only as a set piece, as implied for a segment of Squadron 42. Its absence from footage at this stage, a month after they said it's a standard part of naval fleets, is to me just a bit too suspicious. The old model with a hangar bolted onto the side is reminiscent of the description of the retrofitted Africanus mentioned in Void Rats, and they might reuse that idea of having the Chimera be one of those retrofitted ships, basically just an old ship with something bashed onto the side of it. Instead, I suspect that the Class B ships will have replaced it as the escort carrier of the line. Since the recent Galactopedia specifically mentions the Pegasus as the current model and as featuring in many fleets, I think it's possible that the name will transfer to the new model, with the Greek mythology connection being an inherited feature from the class that Chimera belonged to. This is the area where I'm least confident because there's a lot of good options of what they could do, and the Pegasus might simply be absent because the presence of a Bengal makes it redundant. I don't think we've seen a battleship yet, and indeed such a vessel might not even really exist outside of lore and history, given that it only appears in a handful of articles and was never a stretch goal. I don't see any connections between the vessels we see in the new video and the information we've seen about battleships, like the Indefatigable class. It might be a defunct concept in modern naval language, superseded by a more carrier-focused doctrine and later the Retribution Dreadnought. I hope this overview has been of interest to you. Do you agree with my conclusions? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy this video about more history of UE Navy ships, or subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I've been Jael, and I'll see you around the verse.